and Environment Dialogue. Those of you who see this program regularly every week on Sunday know that this is the program where we discuss the range of issues on environment and climate change, not only in South Asia, but globally. But South Asia is extremely important cog in the wheel in the global context. And we discussed major issues, everything under the sun, which is important on climate change and environment. And the climate channel from Canada, that channel is kind of hosting this program along with the Plurals and as well as noTVbangla, a very, very major, a big YouTube channel from Bangladesh. So that's a collaboration that looks up to this program. And today I'm very happy because today I'm going to interview somebody whom I respect a lot as a professional. Mr. Upendra Tripathy, let me put it up on the outset. Mr. Upendra Tripathy, who has been the founding Director General of International Solar Alliance, before that the Secretary of Ministry of New and Renewable Energy in India, and has done a yeoman job on solar. He's called the Miracle Man. So I am going to talk with the Miracle Man today, and it's such an opportune time that after 5 years, almost 5 years at the helm of ISA, he's going to, for the new work or leaving ISA, I think from Monday. So almost we are talking with him at the end of his tenure. So it's nothing great that we need to know from him where ISA holds. Dr. Tripathy, it's great to have you in the program, and it's really a privilege to host you in this program. Before I kind of start discussing and asking about the ISA journey, should I say, I am reminded by a story that I heard from the Delhi kind of North Block, South Block story, that when Narendra Modi ji became Prime Minister, you were, I think, just became the MNRE Minister Secretary at that point of time. And he called you and said that by 2022, can we have 100 gigawatt? And you said yes. And that reminds me of the story like Raj Singh Dungarpur asking Azharuddin, Mia, Captain Banogi, and he said yes. So it's like a great thing. So how you confident about doing that? Let's start with that backdoor story.
That's a very interesting question. I have been an optimist throughout my career, but to add, I had never worked in renewable energy before before April 2014, when I came and joined as Secretary MNRE. And yes, when I told 100 gigawatt is responsible, all I was thinking that India has 200,000 square kilometers of desert in Rajasthan. We have a lot of land in the Western India. We have a lot of place for floating solar and 3 million hectares of wasteland. So I thought land is the issue, and then it moved. Okay. So I said yes. But what is interesting is the story later, when I came back to my ministry and I had a meeting with all my officers, and after a lot and long discussion, we put it into a vote, except one officer. All the rest said that 100 gigawatt is not possible. Sure. And that was a big challenge. So first challenge, of course, you have to convince your own people that it is doable. So what we did was, when you are under stress, when you tell something to the Prime Minister, you can't go back on your words. So you have to find ways to do it. And we brought in 3 things. A, we talked about a summit of industry, a global summit, where we take concrete steps in terms of getting commitment certificates from industry as to how many megawatt they can put by 2022.
Sure.
And a commitment certificate from financial institutions as to how much they can finance by 2022. And then the summit, where the Prime Minister of India would come and receive those certificates. Of course, not of all, but the best 10 of them. And you'd be surprised that the commitment that we could mobilize was 277,000 megawatt. I mean, we didn't need that much of solar or renewables. Second thing what we did is that we had very powerful instruments in the ministry itself. One was the Solar Energy Corporation of India. For the first time, under solar mission, they had created a corporate entity totally dedicated to solar. And of course, those days it was making losses, it didn't have money. And we had a financing institution called IREDA, the Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency. So we brought them together and we developed a model called we call it SECI IREDA model. One is the financier, the other is the developer. And we sold it to the world. It's a profitable model. And the first project was taken up in Kerala. A monsoon hit province, typically very high rainfall. And there we sold it, it was profitable. And that, that was something to be seen, to be believed. And the whole industry believed it. And the third challenge was the industry was asking that where do you have land? You are talking about wasteland, deserts, and where is the manpower who can actually cater to this industry? Yes. So what we did, we brought in something called solar park, where the land is the responsibility of the governance of the provinces. And we declared a scheme called Surya Mitra, which in English it means the friends of the sun. But it was essentially, we are aiming at an Ola Uber system. You give a ring and the mechanic arrives to repair your rooftop, repair your mini grid, repair your batteries. So that 57,000 people being trained by provinces at the cost of Government of India, and the solar park system where you have identified, for thousands of megawatts of generation of solar through participation of companies, which doesn't cost money to the country, but you only buy power from them over a period of 25 years, and all through a very transparent bidding process. And these ideas we popularized in that summit called Renewable Energy Invest. For the first time, we had it in 2015, February. And nothing to look back. It clicked, it worked. And
it's nothing to look back. In fact, Prime Minister subsequently expanded the 2022 target of 100 gigawatt to 450 gigawatt in 2030. And that must have depending on the feedback that you were talking about. But very interestingly, from this India-centric position, then you were catapulted into a global position. And this treaty on International Solar Alliance between our Prime Minister Modi ji and French President Holland, and then in 2016, the ISA, the International Solar Alliance, were set up in Gurgaon, and you was the person identified to lead it from the very beginning. How difficult it was?
Well, I'm very grateful to the Prime Minister for having reposed the confidence that he did in me. I was not a diplomat in that sense, I was an Indian Administrative Service officer.
That's actually, many people say that despite being a bureaucrat, you showed a vision that is more kind of akin to the technocrats. You are a bureaucrat. I think you were from the Karnataka
yes,
right. But you showed a tremendous amount of technocrat kind of input. That's fascinating how you managed to mold yourself in a technocrat mode to do that. Anyway.
In fact, even earlier, I got the Prime Minister's Award in 2009 for administrative excellence for having turned a sick public sector undertaking in Karnataka to a very profitable one with 6,000 city buses. The visions come, when you think to do things new, innovative, whether you are a bureaucrat or a technocrat, if you are open to ideas and innovation, they come. But when you talk about ISA, it was really a challenge because, of course, the assembly, elected me. I'm grateful to them. But we had three types of challenges, One was the institutional challenge. What shape actually ISA will take? Will it be a international NGO? Will it be a club? Will it be a clean energy ministerial? Or will it be a solid treaty-based organization with very hard obligations for member countries? Or it will be a very hard-formed organization with soft obligations? And these permutation combinations had to be done collectively through negotiation. And the Paris announcement, that was on 30th of November 2015, formed an international steering committee of all 121 countries, those who were within the tropics, because initially the membership was limited to the tropics. So the institutional challenge was to visualize the institution we want and negotiate and get it approved by the international steering committee. We decided to have a solid treaty-based organization because India didn't have one. And India was, in fact, trying to get one for quite some time. And second thing was the challenge at the level of ideas. Like, why another organization? What are the new ideas you can sell? What are the niche area you can actually show? So we worked very hard on the working paper, which was circulated to all the countries. And we identified areas which saying that, solar is the future now. And global warming is coming. Global mean temperature has to be regulated at less than 1.5 degrees Celsius. And if solar is the way, the institutional shape that we chose, and the new ideas. Now, these new ideas were, 2-3 new ideas. So in the framework agreement, we announced that we will mobilize $1,000 billion by 2030. So we brought in the idea of a world solar bank, and so that by 2030, this bank, if it can, we develop a world solar bank and have 1,000.
It's an independent bank. It's an independent bank.
No, right. This is an idea of ISA. So far we have mobilized $5 billion, dollars, but the assembly has now formed a steering committee of 10 countries: India, France, UK, Netherlands, Fiji, Nauru, and from Latin American side we have Cuba and Guinea, and from Africa we have Niger and Mauritius. So these 10 countries plus 2, 8 plus 2, 10 countries are the steering committee who are now going into the details of the bank. But as and when it comes, by 2030, it should be able to mobilize the money that we need. And until then, the second big idea we brought in is something called demand aggregation. I will give you one example. For example, we asked countries, do you want solar pumps? 22 countries came forward and gave us a list of 272,000 solar pumps. We went for a global tender. Prices came down by 40%. Right now, we have a global tender for 47 million home lighting systems. And 750 million people are without access to electricity. There are 2 billion women who have no access to clean cooking medium.
Absolutely.
And 3 billion who have no access to clean drinking water. And these are the areas we try to address through demand aggregation. And World Solar Bank was a new idea. Demand aggregation was another new idea. And country-wise solar mission that we call solar roadmap, member country-wise. Today we have, more than 72 members. We have around 90 signatories because in those countries, the parliaments have not yet ratified the treaty. They are the signatories. But the demand was so much to become a member of ISA that the treaty had to be amended.
Yes, recently it has been done.
121 countries. Yes. Now, all even member countries can be members. For example, earlier, Nepal from South Asia, Bhutan, Pakistan, they're not able to become members. And now they can be members. Okay. And the third challenge that we had, the first challenge was institutional challenge. Second was challenge in the level of ideas. And third is the level of actors. Who do we involve in this ISA? So we propose that in each country, we will have a national focal point.
So now any country can be member of ISA?
Now any UN member country can be a member of country. Yes.
Can be member of ISA. Okay. Previously it was not.
That is true. That is true.
But this is just before going to the next question, this solar bank is a very interesting issue. The solar bank is going to fund the projects in various countries? That is the role?
See, the problem, in the solar field are three.
There's the GCF, Green Climate Fund or something of that sort, that kind of a structure?
See, Green Climate Fund came up with that promise of $100 billion, but they have got some, 7 billion. I think the second round is 10 billion. Mm-hmm. But, here the idea is not giving grant or giving, just finance. Here the idea is these countries should have the ability to make projects which are bankable. Okay. And then you find that $150 billion, which comes to the solar sector every year globally, the most of the money goes to very few countries, leading countries. It doesn't go to the small island countries. It doesn't go to the LDCs. So this bank has to be innovative in a way that it should be able to finance bankable projects in all countries and the countries who need it most. And this bank should be able to help them to make projects quickly. And this bank must ensure speed, skill, and scale, because traditional banks take very long to sanction a loan. World Bank, for example, is a 2-year process. Of course, I mean, rightly so, they address so many issues. So this bank, if necessary, can co-finance to cut down the time. And they have to reduce the cost of capital and the cost of technology. So this bank is focused for solar projects to be helped with Aisha. They have to focus on reduction of cost of technology and capital. And then they will also examine to what extent the bank need not be a 100% sovereign bank. It can include the corporate sector. But this is all left to the Aisha steering committee. They will judge and decide as to what shape it will take. They will listen to the experts and they will decide.
Okay. Just before going to the next question, another point is that with this world now looking solar not just another option, it's now the option, because we see the thermal power has to be pushed back, and we see there are question marks against the nuclear power. There are also hydropower issues. Recently in Uttarakhand, you have seen how the thermal hydropower issues have come up. So what do you feel that with ISA playing a very, very pivotal role, where does you see solar energy going maybe 5 years, 10 years down the line?
See, in fact, we would cherish a world totally run by solar. And in ISA, we talk about 3 types of pricing. Grid parity price, kerosene parity price, and near zero cost price. Now, grid parity is gone. Kerosene parity, we are really rushing through. And the near zero cost essentially means the cost at the end of 30-year period for which the cost is, fixed, will be almost zero. And given this, the idea of one sun, one world, one grid.
Yes, I'll be coming to that. This is a very, very important project. But as you were saying, just kind of a query I always had, that India and France started the whole process together. But do you think that after this 5 years at the helm, that France actually has been an equal partner to an extent, or actually India had to play a more key role in this ISA?
No, France has played a very key role since beginning. The Honorable President of France, we launched ISA in Paris during COP. The French President was, present. The UN Secretary General was present. France has played a very important role. They put $2 billion euros for giving soft loan for solar projects. They have even put, 53 million euros something with the World Bank to create a fund called SRMI, which will reduce the cost of finance, which is one of our important parts. So France has been an active partner. France itself is pursuing a solar goal, although it's mostly a nuclear, power-driven country, I know, and they would have the nuclear market. But at the same time, France is a leader, climate leader now, and the French president takes a lot of interest in these things. So the role of France has been very critical and vital in ISA. In terms of getting membership, for example, the Indian and the French ambassadors make a demarche to the countries to get more members. And we have been actively involved at all levels. They have, in fact, seconded 2 officers to our secretariat, and they have played a very important role. Of course, I mean, in terms of contribution, solid contribution to the ISA corpus, that perhaps will come in future as of now. But France has played a very critical role in the evolution and starting of ISA.
Got it. Now let us come to that, what you were referring to, a very, very ambitious, and I think Prime Minister's very kind of a project which he's been referring to, that that one sun, one world, and one grid. Where do we stand on that?
See, as of we stand, the World Bank, the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, and the State Bank of India, they have signed an MOU with Aisha to manage the process. So we have hired a company, again from France, the EDF, with the help of Terry and another company. They are working out the feasibility report. And stage by stage, of course, they are planning. But I think, it takes 13 months as per term, but they will do something by COP26, an interim report. But more important is the powerful idea behind one sun, one world, one grid. Now, essentially what it is trying to link all the countries in a way and use time as a battery. Now, you must have heard about ice battery, lithium battery and all that. But time battery, essentially, it will divide the world into 15-degree zones. And each zone, it will list out how many towns, how many cities are there, how many industries are there, and what is the requirement of power, and what are the peak hour and non-peak hour. At the same time, it will also list out such variables in other regions and interlink, to harmonize the data and the flow through a computer simulation. And this sounds very, very difficult, very big, but today we have submarine cables for transmission of IT computer data. But there is a company in Australia which is now working out a 7,500 kilometer transmission line through Indonesia from Australian deserts to supply power to Singapore. And 3,500 kilometers of this is submarine. That is, under subsea level. And the cost saving is that I'm told in Singapore, the present cost of power is 16 cents. And all this long travel, power cost will come down to 7 or 8 cents. Now, this is only an example. India, for example, 30,000 megawatt in Kachap, in the West Coast, that can be transported to other Gulf countries if you need. And so we have powerful areas where the land is very cheap, like the Australian deserts we talked about. And those things can be exploited. Green energy can be produced, transmitted at a cheaper cost, given a long life project duration, and use sunlight as a battery, use time as a battery.
Okay. So it's something which is kind of in the pipeline, and you are quite confident that it will be rolled out to a certain extent and in due course of time. Maybe your predecessor will be working on that, perhaps. One particular thing about this last year, you all know there's such a bad year been going on, this COVID and all, pandemic. Many people are saying, industry people and all, that pandemic has pushed back a lot of solar installations in India at least. We are now, I think, around 38 gigawatt installation capacity, but we have to reach 100 gigawatt by 2022. How hopeful you are that India will reach 2022, the 100 gigawatt, and what is the impact of COVID you feel on the wider solar future in the world?
See, COVID definitely has played a sort of retarding role, no doubt about that. At the level of land, land availability went down because nobody moved out. Offices were closed, and capital flow was slowed down. And project duration went up. So there is a role. But can it meet by 2022? I remember, the cabinet asked me the question, what is plan B? Now, I had given a reply at that time saying that 60,000 substations all over, starting from Kerala to Kashmir. If you choose 60,000 substations and put 1 megawatt each, you achieve 60,000 megawatt, and 40,000 they have already done. So you will have 100,000. 26 million people connected within a span of some 18 months, creating history record in human history of connecting so many homes. Our host country, India, it funds us, and is the president of the Assembly of India. They can do us, and they can do it. Yes.
Okay. But I think still the COVID is ongoing, so the threat is still looming large. Still the part of Europe being under quite a spell of COVID, and there are lockdowns.
Second wave, and India also, they are talking about the second wave.
Maharashtra is also facing a lot of problems. So we all expect that it to go away as soon as possible. Anyway, coming back to again that Glasgow is coming up, and how you see ISA, say in the coming years after you leave, what's according to you the ISA's roadmap for the coming 5 years? How critical role it should play in the global negotiation, general and solar in particular?
See, one thing we would like to, strengthen our member countries to improve their NDCs and all the projects they are doing. on the solar mission, like India had a solar mission, and we encourage our member countries to have solar missions, to cut down on cost. And these solar roadmaps we have done for most of the member countries through KPMG and through TERI, through C-STEP and CEW. So next 5 years, I'm sure most of our member countries will have their own solar mission. And, when you say they will have their own solar mission, which means they have a roadmap in place for next 5 years, which itself will be a powerful force to create an ecosystem in terms of fiscal facility, in terms of financial facility to attract investment. And every minister everywhere in the world would love to have more investment because it creates employment. So ISA is looking at those lifelines.
So you see solar as the new investment potential, huge investment potential.
Investment and employment potential. And the way technology is coming and the cost is coming down, it is becoming every day,
Exactly. That's my next question is that though Indian government has been kind of very widely acknowledged its role in the solar promotion throughout the world, but there's a mild kind of criticism as well that India in one side been promoting solar so aggressively, other side still thermal power kind of occupies the central of India's energy mix and energy policy. How you react to this kind of allegation?
See, I'll tell you a story. When I joined as secretary MNR in 2014, there was a joke that people with dhotis come to Ministry of New and Renewable Energy and people with ties go to the Ministry of Power. And by 2016, and we had a policy of going to Ministry of Power and requesting them thermal power for bundling with solar energy. Now, the idea was if you take 100 megawatt of thermal and bring 100 megawatt of solar, the average cost of energy used to come down. And today it is reversed. It's called reverse bundling. The NTPC, which is mostly a thermal, it is going solar in a big way for reverse, the bundling, which essentially takes more solar, less thermal, combines and brings out the cost of energy. And so much so, I'm told that they have a policy now to share the benefit of this mixing with the provinces. And B, if you look at the grid part earlier, the grids in India used to flow from east to west, the coal belt to the industry belt. Even that is getting reversed. So in a way, renewable energy is changing not only the pricing structure and the demand pattern, but even the flow in India. And investments, you look, the more investments in in India is now on renewable energy.
It is an automatic and organic shift will happen from the thermal to solar.
It has started.
So market will take care of that. Market will take care of that to a large extent.
Yes.
Great. Before I conclude, my question is: Are we seeing a person who will be kind of a climate envoy of India in the coming Glasgow and afterwards? Do you have a kind of a role to play in the India's climate policy in future?
I never have predictions about future, and it all depends on this thing. But I think there are more worthy candidates than me in India to have that, place if India chooses to have one. In fact, France had put an ambassador to Aisha, Mr. Ségolène Royal, who helped us so much in terms of project mobilization. And I'm sure, in India will have something in mind, or they should have something in mind. But I can't say that I would be this. India has, plenty of people much more talented than perhaps I am.
But you're not ruling it out. You're not ruling it out. So what is your immediate plan after completing your ISA tenure? You will just enjoy a holiday?
Right now, I'm planning to spend some time with my grandchildren, whom I didn't meet for last 1 year. And I plan to write some books. But I would love to work in the climate space. And I have also some interest to do something for children.
Okay.
What I plan is that if I can create some innovative forum, like World Forum for Children, like in the World Economic Forum in Davos, and get not only the ministers concerned, the industry, the institutions, but over the years, this can be a powerful center to influence children-related policies all over the world. And I love to switch and do innovation in any area. Okay. And a similar thing, I think, because I had been to Davos last year, the World Economic Forum, And it is really powerful. I mean, the way it influences capital, policies, investment, I would like to do something for children.
Okay. And I know that you write poems and you have a book on poems. You would like to write more poems and more books on that?
Oh, that's a good question. Yes, I would love. I've in fact written
And
poems that were published.
maybe we can conclude a poem with yours. If you have something in your hand right now, we can wind up a poem of yours, if you want to.
No, thanks. I think, I would have loved to tell something, an anthem and solar, but no, not right now.
Okay. But you are going to write whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I would just give some time for writing. With so much of rich experience in energy, in transport, we have 41 years of experience, and it is a duty to, jot down something out of those experience that we had. And I will definitely give time for writing, yes. And I've already got some offers for, engaging in academics and writing and all that. So I'll sort it out. But next 15, 20 days, let me spend with my grandchildren.
Exactly. That's the priority. So enjoy your life post-ISA. But I think with the enormous experience that you have and the kind of stellar role you played in solarization, in not only in India, but globally, I think your role in whatever capacity should be continuing in some areas or whatever. So we'll keep on touch. We'll keep on. It's great talking to you, Mr. Upendra. You are such a great speaker. So thank you for your time, and we'll keep on doing that another day in another time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jayant. Such a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you.